40% Merlot, 40% Malbec, and 20%
It sounds
Cab
good.
Sauv.
Tastes good for you.
Welcome to the Wine Enthusiast Podcast, the world in your glass.
This is Jamison Fink, Senior Digital Editor.
Hello?
Hey, Jameson. How are you?
Hi, how are you, Andre?
Good.
Hey, Jameson, this is Tenaya. Are you there?
Hi, I am. How are you?
Oh, hey, you are crystal clear.
André Darlington. And
My name is Tenaya Darlington, and I am co-author with my brother of a book called Movie Night Menus, put out by Turner Classic Movies. It's dinner and drink recipes inspired by films we love.
It is great to speak with you, and especially I think it's appropriate because we've just right now heard about some of the Oscar-nominated movies for this year, and I have a copy of your book. I'm holding it in my hands right now, and what's really cool, it goes from movies from the 1930s, like The Thin Man, all the way up to the 1980s, including movies like Moonstruck. But we can actually take some time first and talk about some of the Oscar-nominated movies and what kind of food and drink pairing ideas you have for them.
I have to say, this has been a great year for Oscar movies and for food in Oscar movies. You know, I was a huge fan of La La Land. You could play off a lot of Los Angeles cuisine, you know, doing chopped salads or, you know, kind of fun LA stuff. There's some good drinking scenes in there.
You know, I just saw La La Land 2 nights ago. To me, it was like the ultimate cocktail movie of all of the Oscar contenders I've seen. Not that I've seen all of them, but, you know, I've tried to watch a good number of them. Because it's a film that just sort of embodies classic cocktails, and it riffs on all kinds of classic films. So, you know, I was about 3/4 of the way through the movie, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a riff on American in Paris, you know, a movie from 1951 that has a drink named after it called An American in Paris. So I was like, oh, how fun would it be to, you know, serve that drink during this part of the movie. Also, there are just so many great club scenes. Like, I'm in love with the interior of the first jazz club that appears, where there's Christmas lights and it's really dark and there's the piano player. And it just feels like you would have people sitting in that cozy atmosphere, you know, drinking an old-fashioned or even like a really beautiful egg cocktail, like a Clover Club, or I could imagine a drink that my parents used to love, a Brandy Alexander, so like one of those like creamy ice cream drinks. So this is a movie where you could really go all out, and if you wanted to have like a classic cocktail night or a classic cocktail club or something, you could really stage something very beautiful. My other thought for this film, I just have to say, is there's a drink I love called the Brown Derby. I don't know if you've ever had a Brown Derby.
What's in it?
It's bourbon, 2 ounces of bourbon, fresh grapefruit juice, and a little honey syrup. And it comes from Los Angeles and a very popular restaurant there called the Vendome Club, where all the kind of Hollywood jet setters would have hung out. So if you wanted to just go all California or vintage California, a brown derby would be just kind of a perfect cocktail, at least to begin the night.
And then Florence Foster Jenkins, which I finally got around to seeing, has this incredible scene where they load up an entire bathtub full of potato salad. Not that I recommend that at a party, but it was a year of nice diversity as far as food options. I think if you throw an Oscar party this year, I mean everything to a Western as well. So, and Manchester by the Sea, you could go Boston with that. So. And sometimes it's nice too to have little stations. So you maybe want to put wine or our beloved Cremant over on ice in another area and have cocktails sort of DIY up in another area if you have room for that kind of thing. It sort of separates your crowd out a little bit so everybody's not, which is always the inevitable thing that everybody's always cramming in the kitchen, right? Bearing the person that's trying to get all the drinks out.
Any sparkling wine and salty snacks are a match made in heaven. It's probably my favorite food and wine pairing. So just quick aside there.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, as cliche as it is too, this is a movie night, so setting out some salty popcorn is certainly apropos on this particular occasion.
Yeah, there's a cool riff that you have in the book on popcorn with just some unique flavors. Can you talk about that? Because I think a lot of people just be like, oh, there's popcorn. I mean, I like it plain with just salt, but I like the recipe you have in the book.
You know, funny enough, this is an idea I got from Kermit Lynch. Since we're talking wine, Kermit Lynch has his kind of, I guess, Kermit Lynch popcorn that he recommends drinking with rosé, and it's sort of thyme. It's sort of all the Provençal herbal flavors. So a number of years ago, I stumbled on some article where Kermit was talking about this, and I made the popcorn. I was like, you know, as a major shortcut to actually creating a Provençal meal, this popcorn does provide a great foil for rosé, such as like Bandol or other dry Provençal rosé. So I started sort of going down the road of popcorns, which seems strange and unlikely, but it is kind of fun. We did it in the book for Stagecoach, I believe, you know, a classic John Wayne Western. And it's really as easy as, making your popcorn, grabbing a bag, and in this instance, it's chili powder, garlic salt, a little cumin, paprika, and then the real kicker is a little freshly grated lime zest on top of popcorn, which is something you could use orange or lemon, but there's something about just a little fresh zest on popcorn that works. It's sort of one of those, who knew, but it really comes off quite nicely.
And I never thought now, the next time I have some Domaine Tempier, I'm going to just have some popcorn. That's a really inspired pairing. Popcorn, it's not just for sparkling wine.
That's right.
If I'm just, alone at home, not in a sad way, in a very happy, contented way, and I want to watch a classic movie, what are some things that, like, if I'm just cooking for myself, but I want to kind of luxuriate in some nice food and drink, what are some things that you would recommend that I make that can be pretty easy for me to pull together for myself?
Sure. Well, one of the earliest movies in the book is a film called Female. It's from the 1930s, I think 1932.
Strong, silent type, huh?
What do you want me to do, start singing?
Go ahead, don't mind me.
The first film to feature vodka, at least as far as we can tell. And that's just a really simple bow tie pasta dish with kind of a classic vodka, red pepper, or tomato sauce. So that would be really easy. Get yourself a bottle of vodka, some delicious olives, make yourself this little dinner. That could be really simple. Otherwise, I also love the movie Grand Hotel. It's from 1932 with Greta Garbo and Joan Crawford, and that's one where it's staged at a Berlin hotel. So we did just these German oven pancakes that are really simple. You could just make it for yourself. The drink in the movie is either champagne, absinthe, which can be fun to just have alone, and something called a Louisiana Flip, which is kind of an orangey creamsicle-like drink. It's got some grenadine, a little bit of rum, an egg, a whole egg, believe it or not, some triple sec. It's just a really luscious and luxurious drink. So, if I was home alone and I just wanted like a little glamour and some comfort food, I would go in one of those directions.
What are your favorite things, to make for a movie night? Like, what if, say, it's just like, for a couple, for a romantic movie night in? What are your favorite, dishes and films in the book?
Probably something like out of the movie Adam's Rib. There was lime daiquiris, cold melon halves, a one-pot meal like a lamb stew, depending on whether you're vegetarian or not. We went back and forth in the book. There are quite a few vegetarian. It's always a task when you have these older movies to sort of lighten them up a little bit and modernize maybe the food, or the food can get a little repetitively heavy. So something like that, or again, some of the bakeries like the Breakfast at Tiffany's. We do the soy au champagne, which is the fruit. It's this really decadent cocktail with ice cream and champagne and fruit. And I would imagine that on a romantic evening, you really can't go wrong with a cocktail like that.
Are there a particular couple movies that you just have, like, you love the the movie, of course, and just one of your favorite inspired food and drink ideas that you could share.
We had a really good time with Guys and Dolls.
When you see a guy reach for stars in the sky, you can bet that
I feel like Guys and Dolls is sort of a, it's Frank Sinatra, Marlon Brando. It's sort of a guy's musical. If a guy is going to like a musical, he's going to like Guys and Dolls. So it does work in, great mixed company, even people who don't like musicals. It's really fun. And the setup for the movie is that Marlon Brando is Guy Masterson, and he has a bet with Frank Sinatra's character that he can't get a date with one of the leading ladies, and in fact a date in Havana. But lo and behold, through some machinations, he ends up landing this date in Havana with this woman who is basically a Salvation Army sergeant, so she's very square. And he gets her to drink coconut milk punch, and there's a great scene in the movie, where she says, "Ooh, this is delicious. What's in it?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know, milk." Not telling her that there's rum, and then they have this great fight scene. Actually, they both just trash this Havana bar. But we did a little going back, and we found that the dish in this scene probably would have been arroz con pollo, which is sort of a chicken dish that in the 50s would have been kind of a fancy dish at the time. It's really easy to make. It's really delicious. There's a few ingredients, but most of it's just spices. So that was the one that's one that really sticks out in my mind. And then another movie I really love is Chained, which is Clark Gable. It's Joan Crawford. It's where their sparkling wit really comes together on the screen. And this is another travel movie where they're on a ship to Argentina, and we have this really simple roasted chicken recipe, which a gastrique, is just like a cider vinegar, honey, and butter, essentially. So it's an extraordinarily simple chicken recipe, and when you have it, it's you wonder why you don't see the recipe more often, because it kind of has everything you want. It's got the acidity from the as wine folks, we like to balance everything. So it's got the butter and the honey sweetness and the vinegar, and you kind of balance this this sauce for this chicken. So those two stick out. But there's a number of recipes across the board, from desserts, for romantic nights to feeding a crowd. So. Mm-hmm.
And speaking of roast chicken and wine, I mean, with a roast chicken in general, or especially one with a gastrique, I mean, what kind of wines are you drawn to for such a classic dish like that, with a little bit of a sweet and sour kind of flavor to it?
I'm really all over the map. I like everything from a Riesling to a Rosé to a Chardonnay if it can handle it. But a lot of times a Chardonnay can't handle the acidity, but it really depends. But I do have a weakness for rosé in that instance, I guess. If it's I drink rosé all year round, but if it's in warmer climate, that's for sure I'll have a rosé.
How do you get inspired? Like, it's sort of like there's no like literal scene of someone having a cocktail or a glass of wine or a specific dish. How do you kind of like get creative and inspired in that way for a movie night menu?
I usually go to place, or sometimes I hunt up what characters or actors we're really into, which is a fun Google. Sometimes you can find a cocktail that and we went through that issue a little bit with the movie night menus. Not every movie, although they're inspiring, there's not necessarily these things. Like Rocky's in our book, and he throws a turkey out of the back alley in the movie, but you don't necessarily want to go down that road for your party.
Right.
So then we went with a Philly cheesesteak. So it's a lot about place, I think. I do think the movies sort of set you in a place, and they set you in an emotional place, and you can certainly pull from a scene. We did Hannah and her sisters, and they go to Los Angeles and ate at this, Woody Allen eats at this restaurant, I think it was called Aware, and there was this, and we looked up that there was this Aware salad. We knew we wanted to pull, there's some great kitchen scenes in there, but we knew we wanted to pull this funny moment where Woody Allen is eating basically a salad that's very, feels very modern. It's sort of the salad that would have taken over. It's got all these funny ingredients to it. And now they're ingredients that have all mainstreamed. So it really is about, I think, place. And it depends on whether the movie is something like a Moonstruck, which has some specific stuff in it, but it's such a large Italian family on the East Coast, so it's really easy to come up with the scale of the food in that movie.
And then I know with the book you had to, you could have gone on forever. It sort of, it goes through the 30s to the 80s, but are you already thinking about, boy, we should do one that covers like more movies that we couldn't do, or we wanted to go from the 80s to the current era? Like, will I get to see Real Genius in there with like a ton of popcorn?
We would love to. There was definitely some movies that are close to our heart. If going out into foreign cinema a little bit, Babette's Feast, of course, or Big Night, which has some unbelievable food scenes in it. There was movies along the way, even in the early eras. We've been watching a lot of pre-code films in the 20s and 30s, and it became a certain obsession of mine anyway, the sort of noir movies of that era. And there's some great food scenes in those that we just missed out on. We weren't able to fit them in. So these were in a way some of the greatest hits, although there's other great hits out there, but these were the sort of the touchstones. So we'd love to do a follow-up Movie Night Menus 2.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for your time.
So
Yeah,
and
I hope
really
fun. I hope you guys are in New York sometime, and we don't have to watch movies, by the way. you can do something else.
It is a lousy, rainy day in Brooklyn, but a perfect day to be at the movies. I'm outside the Nitehawk Cinema, which is notable for many reasons. One is that it is single-handedly responsible for overturning a Prohibition-era law here in New York City that made serving alcohol in movie theaters illegal. So I'm going to get in out of the rain and cold and tuck into a film-inspired cocktail and dish. Join me.
Kurt Applegate, and I'm the executive chef.
Kurt, so one of the things that's cool about being here at the Nitehawk and eating here is not that there's just great food, but you get inspired by movies to create special dishes. And right now, one of the films playing is La La Land. So I'd like you to talk about the dish that inspired you, that was inspired by the movie, how you create it, and just your thought process behind this specific dish.
Well, for every dish that we come up with for these specific first-run movies, one of us being one of the management team, will watch the movie ahead of time, like either go into the city or we'll get a screener, and then we'll take notes as to any food or beverage references, be it a direct reference, something that's eaten on screen, something that's mentioned, or something that just has to do with the setting of the film. So in La La Land, Ryan Gosling wants to open up his own place, and he wants to call it Chicken on a Stick because I believe Charlie Parker's nickname was Bird. So, because he loved chicken so much, and so we decided to come up with this chicken on a stick. It's a pretty simple dish. It's just chicken skewers, and it's on top of a pineapple and avocado salsa, so kind of giving a nod to the California aspect of the film.
Very cool, and I'd love to see this dish being made, and if I may be so bold, I'd love to try it as well.
Yeah, I'll have it ready for you in a moment if you want to come back there.
Yeah, let's head to the kitchen.
Right now I'm just getting the oil hot. Put that over there. I guess I'll tell you a little bit about the salsa.
Yeah, tell me about the salsa.
It's just fresh pineapple that's diced up, a little bit of red onion, some sambal, which is a Thai chili paste. There's a little scallion in there, some fresh lime juice. And that's about it. It's very simple. Perfect dish for spring or summer, but here we are in the midst of winter, but people love it. I guess one of the things that we find is that a lot of the people that go to see the particular film, they're all about ordering this special for that film because they want to discover the reference, or they see it, and a lot of the times the name has to do with something that happens in the film, and then when they get that eureka moment whenever it finally is said or they see it on screen, it's kind of interactive for them.
Yeah, I wonder if when that happens, like all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I just got 10 orders for chicken skewers. It must have just happened in the movie or something.
Oh, we know for a fact that most of the specials that are coming from those particular films are because those people are watching La La Land. Sometimes people will see a special if they're watching, say, Manchester by the Sea or Moonlight, and they see a special that really speaks to them, then they'll go ahead and get it. But I'd say 9 times out of 10, a lot of the specials are purchased from people who are watching that specific movie.
I'll just reiterate here at the Nitehawk. I mean, you're sitting in the theater. You can order food throughout the movie. You can order drinks. So it's a great experience. You're not just stuck with stale popcorn and like smuggling in a flask of something.
Correct. Yeah, full service bar, handcrafted cocktails. We've been trying to be a little bit more local centric, bring in a lot of food from New York State.
And you say this is a dish, I mean, it feels really summery, but I mean, also the movie's about Los Angeles, and it's like miserable and cold and rainy out here. I wanted something with pineapple and on a skewer, you know?
Right. And as most of you know, LA is notorious for having consistently warm weather, and so I guess this dish also plays into that. It doesn't matter if it's winter over here in New York City, over in La La Land.
It's always summer.
It's always summer.
So with a salsa like this, it's not about, you don't have to have like exact proportions or anything. You can just use as much avocado as you want, as much pineapple, sambal, depending on how spicy you like it.
Correct. I mean, we have a specific recipe for this, so we're consistent and maintain consistency here. But I feel like a lot of people would lean heavier towards the pineapple and avocado and lean less towards, say, the onion and the sambal. Me personally, I like it spicy, but this is a nice, cool, refreshing dish. Once I pull the chicken skewers out of the oven, we're going to top it off with some homemade barbecue sauce that we make here. It's pretty simple. Just ketchup, little Dijon, salt, pepper, cayenne, smoked paprika, brown sugar, and a little molasses.
Do you show the Oscars here, or do you just have movies playing that night?
We do. We'll show the Oscars. There's no pre-show for it. They'll just show the red carpet, and then any Oscar-nominated film that we've had here at Nitehawk will bring back the special for that.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
So we actually, the 3 that we have now are the ones that are on there: Manchester by the Sea, Moonlight, and La La Land.
It's got to be a really busy night for you, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's always, it always sells out. People love it. There's a step and repeat. There you have it.
Fantastic. Now I'm going to sit down and eat, if you don't mind.
I would enjoy that. Let me know what you think.
Okay, thanks for your time here in the kitchen today, Kurt.
Thanks for having me.
My name is Matt Walker, and I'm the beverage director at Nitehawk Cinema.
Matt, I just enjoyed a dish inspired by La La Land, chicken on the stick. It was delicious, and now I sure could go for a cocktail inspired by the film. So can you talk about the cocktail that you make inspired by La La Land, how you got the idea for it, and just how that works in general, that creative process?
Absolutely, yeah. I think first I should probably say that I work very closely with my bar manager here at Nitehawk. His name is Nick Dodge, and he deserves a lot of the credit for this cocktail. In this case, when we sort of took the notes from the movie, we didn't have any direct ideas, and when there's nothing obvious, we sort of have some other ideas as far as things we can take inspiration from, and often the first one is geographical. So we immediately started thinking about kind of southwestern flavors, Southern California flavors, and then in the case of La La Land, we were able to take a visual cue as well. This movie is colored in a way that sort of tries to make it look like Technicolor, and it's very vivid and beautiful, and there are multiple sunsets that you see in the movie, and they're all gorgeous, and they all have different beautiful, vivid colors. So we decided to name the cocktail LA Sunset because of that, and we used prickly pear puree, which is just the most beautiful, vivid, bright pink color if you've never seen it before. with mezcal, some fresh lime juice, some Saint Germain elderflower liqueur, and shaking that up and then topping it up with a little bit of ginger beer.
Sounds fantastic. Well, do you mind making one? I'd love to drink one, frankly.
I would love to make one.
Okay, let's head to the bar.
So we're going to start out with 2 ounces of this Bonez Mezcal Joven, which is a very, very nice white mezcal. Those of you at home probably can't hear me pouring right now, but
He's totally pouring a nice portion of mezcal. I can vouch for that.
this amount of mezcal, I promise you will get the job done. 1 ounce of fresh lime juice, 1 ounce of prickly pear puree, also known as tuna fruit.
Really? Prickly pear sounds much more appealing in a cocktail.
Yeah, if you can, and those of you at home, obviously you can't see the color right now, but it does look like the inside of a very, very nice cut of tuna sushi or something.
Oh, I see. And it's very sunsetty next to the lime juice as well.
So now we're going to pour a 1/4 ounce of Saint Germain elderflower liqueur. Just putting some ice in the glass, as well as my cocktail tins. And now we're going to shake it up. I'm going to strain this over ice into a rocks glass.
It really looks beautiful.
Yeah, anything you make with prickly pear puree, the color is just stunning.
And then do you add a garnish to it?
There's no garnish for this cocktail. We are going to top it up with about 1.5 ounces of ginger beer. And now if you're making this at home, this is the kind of thing where you don't have to be exact. If you're using about a 10-ounce rocks glass or 12-ounce old-fashioned glass, it should be just enough room to really just top it right up. Give it just a brief stir to incorporate the ginger beer. And there you have it, the LA Sunset.
Awesome. I'm going to take a quick sip. Oh, it's delicious. I love that smoky mezcal, too.
That's right. Yeah, it really plays well with the prickly pear puree.
Well, thank you for being on the show and fixing an incredible cocktail and giving us a window into the process of how great films, Oscar-nominated films, inspire great food and drink here at the Nitehawk.
Thank you very much, Jameson. I really appreciate it.
This podcast is produced by Large Media, L-A-R-J Media. Wine Enthusiast is made possible by grapes, sunshine, and wine, and by the hard-working editors who bring you news and information on your favorite beverage every day. If you like what we're doing, share our podcast with your friends and give us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. For more fun wine information, follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Wine Enthusiast.